Hello, everybody. We are live, Facebook Live for the Stigma-Free Society. So amazing to see everybody on here. And I just wanted to introduce, we have this amazing person who I'm going to be interviewing today, Seren Friskie. And I'm going to introduce to you a little bit about Seren's background. But before we do, I'm just going to go over a little bit of what we're doing here and the importance of it. So, Seren, I'm just going to switch the screen for a minute. And I'm also going to share a watch party right now, because once we go live, I think it's super important that we have everyone that we can watching, because today is a very special event. Today is a fundraiser for the Stigma-Free Society. And people are going through a lot right now, but so are foundations. And so foundations are also experiencing things like not having enough funding. And funding is a real challenge right now. And yet we still want to do the important work that matters. And so Stigma-Free today is hosting this huge fundraiser and having all these amazing speakers. And the speakers are all talking about things with mental health and the importance of it. As I just pulled my watch party up and made it super loud, but I am going to create a watch party right now. And so here we go, everybody. Excellent. Now, so I'm Nisha Khare. I'm your interviewer of the amazing person we're about to talk to. This is Wellness Chats with Nisha. I'm a registered clinical counselor. I have a background in teaching. I've worked with the Ministry of Children and Family Development. I am a co-founder of a media company, Human Biography, and we specialize in documentaries and social media commercials. So we're all about capturing stories. And I think that's what's so amazing about today. Stigma-Free, every week we capture stories of people. And usually on Thursdays at 2, but today, as I said, is a special fundraiser. So this is for the Stigma-Free Society. And what we're really doing, well, really what Andrea, Paquette, and Maddie and their amazing team are doing is raising money for this important cause. The goal is to have 1,000 people donate $20. So if you could donate $20, and you can find a link in the caption, $20, we just could really benefit so that we can continue to do amazing work. And if you feel that someone today would benefit from hearing this talk, please share the link. The more, the merrier. And also, just a quick disclaimer, we're going to talk about what's happening in the world right now, how it's impacting our lives, and how some people are staying home, but some people are having difficulty being out, and there's really everything else in between. So we all have this new territory we're going through, and just want you to know, if you're at risk or you feel like you're in crisis right now, know that you need to stop watching this. Please call 911, and then our amazing first responders can do their jobs. Okay, so I'm about to introduce our amazing interviewee here today, Seren Friskie. Seren, I said it correct, right?
Yep, that's okay.
We reviewed it. So Seren Friskie, she is a provincial youth peer engagement coordinator at Foundry. She's currently finishing up her bachelor's in psychology at Thompson Rivers University. She has brought her passion for youth wellness and health to various organizations and research projects, including the BAJoin, the National Stigma and Resilience Among Vulnerable Youth Center, Impacts, collaborations to address sexual violence on campuses, the McCreary Center Society, We Matter, and now Foundry. Seren's most transformative learning occurs within community, working with marginalized folks in both local and global contexts to push for change. Welcome, Seren. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, and I'm so privileged to have been asked to be a part of this fundraiser. I think I first found out about Stigma-Free Society back in March, and I actually was hosting an event with CMHA BC for our youth advisors. I had the very great privilege to listen to Christian Felice talk about his story, and it was just so inspiring to me, and I know to all of our young advisory members as well.
Oh, well, it is our pleasure to have you here. And if I even think about like all the things that you've already achieved, you know, what accomplishments. Your accomplishments list is so impressive. And I just feel like, wow, you've done so much. You are a youth. I would still call you a youth, right?
Technically, I think so. Yeah, 24 maybe.
24, right? It's and you know, I just want to know, like, what has been your motivation in life to take on this variety of work?
Yeah, I would definitely say my motivation is personally my personal story. So I feel like all of us have something to show when it comes to our own personal journey, whether it's mental health or mental illness or something similar to that, or some type of struggle. So for me, I definitely struggled when I was growing up. So when I work at Stigma and Resilience Among Vulnerable Youth Center, when I do that kind of work, I think a lot about myself. You know, who am I trying to help with this kind of health research? Who am I trying to find out about, and who am I trying to create interventions for these young people? And I think about who was I when I was, say, 12 or 13 or you know, in high school. So that's definitely pushes me to work in this field. And it always was my goal to be able to finish up my bachelor's degree in psychology, work within mental health. And in a way, I can't even believe it that I get to do this, you know, so early. And I feel definitely grateful for that, for this work.
Oh my goodness. Well, I just love what you just said, that, you know, if I think back to when I was 12 and where I was at and the things I was going through, how emotional it was, how confusing it was, and also imagining those 12-year-olds now in times of like COVID, in times of like huge movements happening around us. And there's a lot of growth happening, but it's also a lot of, you know, pain and fear. And I was listening to this stat today that I think that the need for people calling like suicide hotline has gone up like 75%. You know, that's huge. And we're just so lucky that we have things like Stigma-Free Society that create, you know, like a COVID-19 toolkit, so that you can have conversations with your kids around mental health and see where they're at and have connections, because this is what we need right now. It's so important. And yet, like, a lot of people are doing this out of the goodness of their heart. Like, they just want to see some kind of change. They want to see people supported, like yourself, right? And
definitely, absolutely. I definitely feel that you really see that with Andrea, with Stigma-Free Society and their toolkit, and you see how much love and care really went into that toolkit, and all of the resources there that are for young people, teens, or educators, or families, if they just want to talk to their child about what's happening, because it can be so hard to have those conversations and understand what they're going through.
I agree. Like, thanks to people like Andrea, Maddie, yourself, there's so much potential for conversations to happen where people can get connected and not feel alone. How did you choose? I have a psychology degree as well. How did you choose the education of psychology?
So I decided to go into psychology because I had related to, so my mental health journey, I struggled a lot with anxiety and depression. And so I started to learn more. And so as I started to learn more, I've became interested in the field of psychology. And I remember I took my first psychology course in grade 12. It was kind of like an extra course that you could take before attending university. So, and I found that so interesting. And I just chose that path. I felt like it was right for me. And I'm really happy that I ended up choosing psychology, and because there's just so many other options, you know, young people can choose nowadays with school. So I stuck with that one, and I'm so glad I stuck it out, because sometimes, you know, when you're going through school, whether you're at the end of high school or maybe your first year university, you might feel like, I don't know if this is right, or maybe I should choose something different or safer or something like that. But really grateful that they stuck it out, and I found kind of a nook or a niche for myself to be able to flourish in a little bit. But
you know, I love that because when I was younger, I was probably encouraged to be like a doctor or a lawyer. Those were kind of my suggested options. And then I kind of pushed through and said, you know, I really feel connected to psychology, kind of like what you're saying. And it all comes back around. Like, I even kind of left it for a while, but it came back, because when you have that desire, that passion, you have to follow what your heart says, I think. And you, I think, are meant to be in this field. You are meant to be doing the good that you do. And like you have this variety of things that you're involved in. Like, for example, even empowering youth, and you've worked with stigma and resilience among vulnerable youth center.
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you learned working there?
Well, so I currently still work as like a research assistant within the Stigma and Resilience Among Vulnerable Youth Center, and it's
Wow.
out of UBC, and we really look at various research. So really, we study how stigma, discrimination, violence, trauma affect young people's health. So our goal really is to identify the factors that foster youth resilience in spite of stigma. So a lot of that, for me in my personal project with Stigma and Resilience Among Vulnerable Youth Center, it's looking at Indigenous youth health, particularly Two-Spirit youth. So Two-Spirit youth have various different needs, and they're really hidden within society. And you don't always talk about when people say LGBTQ. Sometimes they forget about LGBTQ2S or Two-Spirit.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a really great area of work that I get to be a part of every day.
Oh my goodness. I just before this, I just did an interview with an Afro-Indigenous, two-spirited um, leader of the Squamish Nation, DJ.
Oh
Just,
wow.
so, like I was just saying how important it is to have role models, that she's
Mhm.
an amazing role model to people, as you are as well. That you're a role model of someone who's, experienced your own mental health journey and has brought you here. It's brought you down this road of learning and helping and doing. I think this is phenomenal. And I heard that you're working on some interesting research projects at UBC and McGill. Can you tell us a bit about those?
Yeah, so the Stigma and Resilience one is the one at UBC, but in particular, we have it's amazing that you've worked with DJ, because we're actually putting together a campaign called Witness Me for Two-Spirit Youth, which is exactly that. It's exactly having role models, profiling Two-Spirit Indigenous, both youth and adults, who are flourishing, they're resilient, they're strong, and they're in community. And it's kind of like a witness me, like, look at me, I am strong, I am here, and I am living, within our society, and I don't need to be hidden. So that's kind of our main campaign, at least for stigma and resilience right now, when it comes to just some of the research that I'm working on. So really excited about that. It's going to be rolling out hopefully in the fall, about figuring out all of our social media and whatnot. But that's my one at UBC. But at McGill, it's the sexual violence. So it's called the Impact Project, collaborations to address sexual violence on university and college campuses. And it's really just looking at sexual violence in all of its forms across the school network or the university and college network, figuring out policy, law, art, media, looking at all of the spheres where it's kind of embedded, and figuring out different ways to create interventions and learning tools and changes in policy to address that. But yeah, excited about that project too.
That's very fascinating, right? Because how many people are at colleges and universities and, affected by those things? And so what kinds of things are you seeing that need to be changed? Because I could imagine a sexual assault on campus that can affect your mental health, the rest of your life, your learning, your future opportunities. So what kinds of things are they saying that need to be done? What kind of changes need to happen?
So in particular with that project, I look a lot at Indigenous women or men at university and college campuses, and kind of looking at the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and how it's almost embedded in many of these institutional structures that we kind of live in and work in every day. So I kind of did almost a little bit of a profile on Indigenous student perspectives and how they relate to working in an educational structure like a university or college, and how that affects their learning outcomes and ability. So that's one sphere for Indigenous youth, but it's also, just like you said, mental health. The mental health needs for university and college students is quite great, but the wait times to see a counselor or having support in person can be quite large, maybe even like a month or so wait. Of course, we know that having to wait a month can be very deterring, and people won't probably come back, or they might feel like they need it at the moment, but then they'll say later, okay, no, I'm not going to come back, or something similar to that. So finding the ways to bring in those mental health supports is so important. I know BC just rolled out the Here to Talk, which is the online mental health support, which is the app, which I think was amazing and is a really great. But I do think that individual schools can create a lot better support for university and college students for sexual violence.
Oh yeah, I think that it's very important, and it's interesting. when you even say like that there's an app created and you know, we have social media, like what role do all these things like apps, social media, technology play nowadays with like, what are you seeing with mental health? Because like when I went to do my master's at UBC, there was barely any talk of online counseling. Okay, that was a long time ago, but there wasn't much talk of it. Now, so much has gone online. So much support is online. You know, campaigns are online. Can you tell us about like how you're seeing these big changes and the importance of it?
Definitely. So I know, of course, working at Foundry, we have Foundry Virtual, which is our online sphere of counseling or peer support where a youth can come in and talk either on the phone or they have the Microsoft Teams platform. And then eventually it will range into like an app and things like that. But right now the youth can access it that way. And so there was a big push for this virtual support services and virtual mental health services. And in one hand, I definitely think it's really great. You know, I think youth and young people or just people in general should be able to have the option to see a counselor. You know, maybe they're more comfortable by the phone or online. And utilizing this new technology is amazing. And I think that it's a great factor to support young people. I also think that mental health support, some people also flourish when it comes to speaking to a counselor in person as well. So having those two almost conjoining together to create the best kind of support for young people is also really high on my own list.
Yeah.
And high on how I would like to see young people being supported for sure. But social media in general is definitely a new whole range of spheres that young people have to navigate now, and to navigate like social relationships online, connections online, school. Of course, with COVID right now, they're not in school. So probably their main connection is online, talking to friends and trying to connect that way. So definitely hard to keep up with things like that, but hopefully people are doing a good job or can make change as we go along.
Yeah, like even for example, you and I talking online today, you know, that you get to share your message of the work that you're doing and the impact that you're having, and just getting messages out there to youth, because I think this is one of the main ways of interaction, not only for like, you know, youth, but specifically for youth, but for everybody. And you were talking about We Matter, you know, the Indigenous Youth Mental Health Organization that you're involved in, and you're an ambassador of hope with We Matter.
Yeah, so We Matter is a national Indigenous youth mental health organization, so across Canada. And what it basically is the founders saw that there wasn't a lot of support for Indigenous youth and mental health, because they have a particular kind of structure and then culture and traditions and whatnot, and it wasn't really addressed within the sphere of mental health. So what they did was they wanted to address this by creating videos where young people, Indigenous people, can come together and create a video online, similar to like this in a way, where they say, we matter, you matter, your community matters. I grew up, maybe I had troubles, so I would share that I struggled when I was younger, but you can, you know, hope is there. Things will change in the future for you, and to keep going and keep strong and resilience. So that's kind of We Matter, is the push for those videos, but it's also a new ambassador program. So I believe it ran last year and it's also running this year and next year. So I became an ambassador of hope. So what We Matter does is these ambassadors go out into communities and talk about the issues that are facing Indigenous youth, particularly to mental health. But they talk about things like lateral violence, or they talk about intergenerational trauma, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, various different topics that all are affecting Indigenous youth. And I think that's, I wanted to be a part of it. When I heard about We Matter, I was like, I'm going to apply. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I'm just really going to try and see. But grateful to be a part of that as well.
I'm grateful that you are part of that as well. There's a lot happening within that community. There is, I worked with this organization documenting last year, Feminists Deliver, and people need to talk. People need to be heard. People need to share their voices. And I even think about back to when I was younger, and my anxiety and depression definitely was strong in high school. And yet probably throughout most of my life, I was pretty good at hiding it. And, you know, when I probably needed to talk to someone or a counselor, I probably shied away from it. Maybe I thought I should hide it. It should be quiet. I shouldn't talk about it. you know, but like now I look back and I think like everyone needs to talk. Everyone should see that it's okay to have a counselor. It should be mandatory. Everyone should have someone to talk to so that they feel supported. Can you tell me about any moments in your childhood that maybe led you to this point? You know, maybe personal journey with mental health?
For sure. So for me, very much similar. Like I felt like, you know, even though I was struggling on the inside, maybe I was struggling at home outwardly in the classroom or the school or with friends, I was completely fine and normal. And I always just hid any of my feelings, or maybe I was really down or I missed something or something similar to that. I just wouldn't really show it outwardly. So that was definitely hard to overcome a bit, to be able to open up a little bit. And really, that's just a lifelong struggle. I feel like a lot of people might continue to have struggles with that, whether it's in the past or they're dealing with it currently. It can be so hard, you know, when someone says, "How are you doing?" and your automatic response is, "You know, I'm good, I'm okay." And sometimes, even if maybe you feel okay, then you're like, "Yeah, I wasn't that okay yesterday," or "Really, you know, I kind of need a break," or I was doing a lot," or you know, "I have kids and they're stressing me out," or something like that. So, you know, there's various different topics where people can open up a little bit more. And I think that for me, I opened up a little bit more when I saw other people do it, and when I saw other people speak about their own experiences, and share a little bit about what they were going through, whether it was in adolescence or adulthood. So I hope that by sharing my own experience, whether it's on a platform like this or maybe it's in print, I shared it with a Here to Help Mental Health and Addictions Journal of BC. I also spoke at an event in Victoria to high school students on Vancouver Island, and I hope that by doing those kind of things, it enables other people to be able to come forward and talk about the issues and be a little more open, or maybe even ask for help. So those are some moments, definitely.
I think that's what we need. I would just hope for that. I hope that we can have people feel comfortable sharing and just being open. Like that's what Stigma-Free Society is all about, is to remove that stigma of being ashamed of mental health, you know, experiences, but to be honest about them and to like look for help when you need it, or to say, I just need to talk to someone right now. And, you know, I just want to say to you, Seren, like, thank you. Thank you for all the amazing work that you're doing and everything that you're doing to support various communities. And before we go, it's gone by so quickly. What is your hope for the world? What is your hope for a better world?
My main hope right now, well, in terms of many various different things, but for mental health, that young people are able to have the supports that they need, the services they need, to not be afraid to come forward and ask for help, to be able to talk openly with their families and their communities about what's happening in their life or the struggles they're going through, and for families and communities to really come together and encourage and uplift young people, because they're really the future, of course. And that's my greatest hope.
Yes, I fully have that hope as well. And I think that we are closer to that hope with people like you doing the amazing work that you're doing, having the passion that you have, but also sharing your story, because that's inspiring to others. And so thank you for joining us today. Thank you for supporting all the communities and being a role model to the youth of what being open looks like, but also doing good and communicating with each other. So thank you so much, Seren. And also want to say thank you to all of you for watching today. This event is a fundraiser. Please donate. The link is in the caption. We're just asking maybe $20 out of 1,000 people that could do so much good for helping Stigma-Free Society support the important work that's happening. And, you know, we have amazing people like Maddie and Andrea, and they are just leading the way, such as people like Seren. So thanks for supporting us. If you'd like and you think this is important or someone might benefit from it, please share the link or guide them to it. And just want to say much love to everyone watching, and much love to Seren. Have a wonderful day and take care, everyone. We appreciate and we love your support. Bye.